Hello, welcome to my 3DSMax series of tutorials. Um, this is the very first one where I'm going to set up my 3DSMax for how I'm going to be using it through all of my different tutorials for my classes. This year I've launched 3ds Max 2022. You can see I haven't changed anything yet. I even still have the welcome screen. This is really useful, helpful. It's got sample files, tutorials, quick start. I'm just going to uncheck this though, because I don't need this to start every time. I'll close that. So first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to do some changes inside here in 3ds Max. First off, I'm going to come up here to rendering, to render setup, and I'm going to change it from Arnold to scanline renderer. We're going to be making art for games. That means we don't need to see how they're going to look inside 3ds Max because 3ds Max's Arnold renderer is different from any game engine that we're going to be working with. So we're just going to work with standard. We're really not going to deal a lot with materials in here. Those we'll be polishing inside of programs such as Substance Painter, Designer, or inside our game engines. We're not going to worry about our gloss and metal roughness and normals in 3ds Max. All right, so we've changed our renderer. It's now scanline renderer. I'm now going to come in here to customize unit setup, and I'm going to click on system unit setup inside that. Now inside here, I'm going to make sure that 1 unit is equal to 1 centimeter. All right, for me, that's already set up because I had done it previously. Now I'm going to click OK. I'm going to leave it on generic units. Why do we use centimeters? That's because the main game engines out there work with centimeters as their basic units. All right, so it's a nice one-to-one translation. Next, I'm going to come up here. I'm going to right-click on this 3 with the magnet, and I'm going to change my grid settings. I'm going to go to Home Grid and change my grid spacing to 100. So that means that each one of these little grid units out here is 1 meter. And then the last thing I'm going to do, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to click on this little guy. This is configure modifier sets. I'm going to click on him and say show buttons. I'm going to click and drag this over so I get 2 bars here. I'm going to do configure modifier sets. I'm going to go through and set this up, all right? Because it's helpful to have this set up. There's a lot of tutorials that I refer to these buttons up here in the corner. So might as well get it set up now rather than later. So a lot of these are going to be things that you're not going to know what they are right away, and we'll get to these later on in the quarter. But I'm going to basically, I have this first blue one here selected. I'm going to do UN for unwrap UVW and double click. That moves to the next one. I'm going to click in here and just type X. That'll take me to, actually I want to hit U again because I want to find UVW X form. There it is. Keep clicking U's till you find it. This next one I want to keep clicking U because I want UVW map. I think I already went past it. There it is, UVW map. And now I'm going to do S for symmetry. Keep looking for that one. It's in here somewhere. There it is, symmetry. And now I'm going to do edit poly. And next I'm going to do FFD 2x2x2, FFD 4x4x4. And then why don't I set this to 8? And this last one, why don't I we'll put that to shell. This one changes throughout my tutorials. That one's not necessarily consistent. So I'm going to click OK. Now that'll be here for any time we need it. At this point, I have everything set up the way I want. So I'm going to do File, Save. And here, just right in this default directory, I'm going to name this Max Start and hit Save. So now every time I reset, do I really want to reset? It's going to get rid of everything and say yes. It should load that file up, and now if I do rendering, render setup, it's set to scanline. My units are set to centimeters. And when I come over here, this should be set up. Yep, there's my basic setup. So now if I close 3ds Max and reopen it, I should see all those things again. Now, the Max Star is not something you're going to load to. You'll see this says untitled. That's because that Max Start file, the software is using to use as a base for loading in our default settings.